the main question that we are asking ourselves with my team and myself is, where are we going with education? What's going on around the world? What are the trends? Is going something there that is changing or something that is still relevant? What about the education systems, the ministries of education, teachers, students, etc.? So when we are speaking about the changing reality where we are living today, we know that the global economy is here and it's more and more becoming global. The changing rates of our careers is higher and higher, and jobs are disappearing and new jobs are appearing. So the main question is the actual education system is still relevant? To my opinion, the actual education system is obsolete. Means, sorry?
It is.
It is, yeah, it's obsolete. So where are we going? So we are all in agreement. So where are we going? So I will take you now a little bit in the past. In the previous century, in the beginning of the previous century, if we look at employees, we can see here a man on the top of the world, no safety, okay? Very skilled, but one skill, okay, doing one thing. That's what is it about. And if we will ask him, how was your education? In which school you have been? So that's what he will answer us. I was alone in my table doing what I'm told to do, and that's it. Okay, so that's why when we saw later on what's going on in the industry, so we can see exactly the same, even if the industry brought many people together to work on the same purpose, on the same product. And if we will ask them, what about the school where you learn? Here is the answer. Rows, columns, lines, etc. When we are coming today and trying to understand what happened there, so we see that the real world, the working environment, dictated what will be the learning environment, and the learning environment dictated what will be the pedagogy. When we are looking today about working environment, we see something different. We see collaborations, we see people speaking and working together, but universities, or the way that we are sitting now, it's exactly the same as it was in the past, lines and rows. One change, look at the space that the teacher has. Look at the space that I have here, where I can move, etc. It's bigger. Ministries decided that the students need to have 1.1 square meter for learning, and teachers need to have between 8 square meters to 16 square meters. Why? Just to say, I'm the teacher, and this is the way that it should be. I'm the boss, and you will do what I'm asking you to do. Even when we are evaluating our work today, we are collaborating with others. We are asking them. We are getting some inputs about our work. But when we are going to exams, it's still like this. We are asking them to answer a question about an information, about a knowledge that they have, and that's all. So today, the real world, as it is actually, is not dictating the learning environment, because the learning environment is still in the past, and as well as the pedagogy. So how can educational institutions remain relevant for the changing future? And we know that the future is changing. So what we did, we took the TPAC model that probably all of you know. Ministries of education are working on it essentially in silos. They have a department working on programs, department working on pedagogies, department on technologies, and sometimes they speak together, not every time. We can see here that we decided to work on the interfaces that are in between them. And we added to the classical TPAC model, we added the space. Because the space becomes something very important in all what we do. We are going to take now what we saw on the TPAC model, and we are trying to understand how the knowledge, the skills, the abilities are expected to influence the education system. So we are introducing here two different terminologies. One is the high-order thinking abilities, based on the taxonomy of Bloom, the Bloom taxonomy, revised Bloom taxonomy. In 2000 it was revised. We are asking our students to remember, of course, to understand, to apply, to analyze, to evaluate and create. But at the same time, we want them to do it by trying to apply the 21st century skills. And we went around the world and see what are those skills. So first of all, the main important one is dealing with uncertainty. We know today that the future students or the future workers will have to deal with many changes in a very short term. So we need to teach them, or we need to let them try to experience dealing with uncertainty, innovation, critical thinking, troubleshooting, learning anytime from everywhere, collaboration, teamwork. Okay? Learning from searching and questioning. So these two different purposes, the high-order thinking abilities and the 21st century skills, working on them in the interfaces that I showed you before, can bring us, in fact, to take children today and bring them in 20 years from now to be ready to the world that is expecting them. And for that, what we did is to take each one of the components of the TPACK model, the content, pedagogy, technology, and space, and we went deeper inside to work and see the interfaces that are between them. Looking at the content, we are saying today that we need to move from disciplinary teaching to interdisciplinary teaching. Means that if we are taking subjects or different topics like human migration that we know that it's going on today, global warming, or even ancient Greek philosophy, we need to understand that we cannot anymore teach it just like that. We need to look at it from the interdisciplinary point of view and go to the transdisciplinary point of view. Means moving even further in that. And by teaching it, we are introducing, in fact, a different way of teaching. We are introducing the phenomenon, project, problem, research-based learning. And we probably, all of you, heard about it. When we are going to the pedagogy, we are speaking about moving from frontal learning to collaborative shared learning. Moving there means that we need to bring a new pedagogy to the classroom. And in this pedagogy, we are speaking of moving from self-education or self-learning to the team learning, with results from the learning from individual results to shared results. So we need to move on these two axes by introducing to our students the possibility to do that in 8 different steps. The first one is to define the problem or the phenomenon or the project or the research. The second one is to acquire the knowledge. Usually it's still on the self side and individual results of the learning. Then we want to confirm it. And after that, to create a debate, to create a rhetoric, means we want people to be able to speak, to honor what the other is saying. Moving to the solving the problem, planning, how to implement the problem, approve it, and then implement and evaluate, and then etc. So by this pedagogical model, we see that we can move easily from self to team learning and from individual to shared results. And moving to the technology here, we found that we know that people, students, teachers, schools are bringing a lot of devices and applications to the learning. Unfortunately, these multiple devices and applications are creating a kind of technophobia. And what we are speaking about today is to move to computational thinking. Computational thinking means how we are helping teachers or students to think like a computer, not yet to use it. Before using it, we need to ensure that they understand how it works and how we need them to be in a mode of high order thinking. And then we can bring the devices, but again, we must organize them in what we call the IoT, the Internet of Things in education. Here a model that we are applying today. We have the teacher here in the middle. To the teacher, we are giving the possibility to work with the students through a learning navigator, means the student is coming and he knows from where he goes and to where. We are providing a knowledge market, articles, books, etc. A platform for peer collaboration, and then we have the possibility to increase the learning by improving it when it's needed. Behind the teacher, we must provide a kind of net, a network where we have real-time sensors, we have digital books, digital cameras, digital libraries, etc. And all this, in fact, can create what we are expecting in the computational thinking, means the possibility to process data, to start to code. We can see today students or children in the kindergarten that are already coding and creating their own learning through codes. Gaming, endpoint devices, and collective intelligence means that the teacher is using the intelligence that is created to the teamwork and to the learning, the collaborative learning, in order to know exactly where the classroom is exactly. So we decided to make this change, and we can see today, after a few years, that from year to year, our students are using more and more technology. They are cooperating, they are using thinking skills, and of course they are looking and trying to evaluate and to improve their teaching through different computerized tools. When we are speaking about space, we need to move from traditional classrooms to adapted learning spaces. And what we did with the company, Steelcase company, it's an American company, we created, based on our model, different rooms where in some of them you can get the definition of the problems. In another room, you can acquire the knowledge. In others, you can debate and then come with the results, with the problem solving, and for the approval. So it's a dynamic learning spaces. You need to move from one classroom to the other. Means that no more 1 hour and a half lesson, or no more working only in one type of classroom from the morning to the end of the day. But immediately we saw that we need to change and to go to also to a continuous learning space. Means to have one big space where you can do all what I have said before. Means a frontal learning where you can present the problem and define it. Here we have the technology to acquire the knowledge. Here we have the place to debate. We have also small groups here. We have also the possibility for the teacher to bring students and learn here. We are putting here, or we are bringing here together 120 students that are working with 3 or 4 different teachers from different fields. That means that we can do the interdisciplinary teaching that we spoke about before. And we can see that after evaluating it, our students are saying that the new classroom or the new learning space are much more important and much more valuable than the old ones. Means that they are succeeding in let's say, bringing the 21st century skills into action. Another space model that we developed, we call it the biophilic learning space. It's where we can teach sciences or where we can teach biology. So we took a kind of outdoor space and we closed it, and we brought inside all the chapters that they have to learn in biology. And we can see here solar panels and recycling water, biogas, composter, a stream with fish pond and aquarium, vivarium, green wall, etc. You can teach everything that you have in your program in biology. For example, here we have a tree where we can teach photosynthesis, for example. This place looks like this in the reality. And you can see here that all the place here is full of sensors. A lot of data is collected, and teachers and students can together make some research. For example, to define based on this data how much or when leaves will fall, we can do some comparative research. The other space is the maker space, where we are turning ideas into products. So we are bringing questions, we are bringing problems, we are asking our students to think about it, using the skills that we talked about. And now here, with all the technology, they need to bring some solutions to the problems that they have been asked to solve. In schools, we are introducing more and more gaming and multimedia space. Means we want to bring the learning through the games and even experiencing some physical experiences or mathematical experiences or botanical experiences through the gaming by using multimedia. Finally, we are using also virtual learning space. Means that we are asking our students after the hours of learning when they are at home, to choose an avatar and go inside the virtual space, and there to try to solve problems that they have been asked in physics or mathematics or whatever. So in fact, what we are seeing here is that now we can say that the real world is influencing the pedagogy, and the pedagogy is influencing the learning space. So we cannot work anymore in silos by developing programs or developing technology or developing classrooms. We must work in the interfaces of them and see it as one track that each one is influencing the other. In summary, we can see here that learners or workers, which are the same, okay? We are looking at the workers at work and the learners in classroom, and we need to ensure that learners are experiencing what the workers will, what they will experience when they will be workers. They are using technology, and they need an appropriate learning environment. And then we can see a lot of innovation. First of all, here we can see the emotional innovation. Here we can see the functional innovation, and here the process innovation, which means that at the end we have an experiential innovation. That's exactly what we want from our students, from our kids. We want them to grow and be ready to go to the real world and be innovator, be creative, etc. So in fact, what we have here, to summarize it, we have a kind of solar system, which should be the education system, where we have in the middle the knowledge, skills, ability, the KSA, which is supported by contents that should be interdisciplinary, competency-based pedagogy, computational thinking and Internet of Things, IoT, and finally, adapted learning environment. All this system, as it is now here, when we worked in the interfaces that are between them, are bringing our graduates in a place where we can absolutely and definitely say that they have an interdisciplinary knowledge, they acquired the 21st century skills, and they are working and learning according to the high order thinking. That's what we call realistic intelligence in comparison to artificial intelligence. It means that here we have our students ready for the real world, where they will go in the future. What we would like to arrive to it is to have another step. And in this step, we are expecting that the educational system will create a pedagogy that will create the learning environment that will create the real world. and not the contrary as we are today, where the real world, like high-tech companies, etc., are those that are influencing schools how to teach and how to learn. So that's where we would like to arrive in the future. We are not yet there. And thank you very much. It's not me telling you thank you, but those children that for them, we want them in the future to be successful. Thank you.